G'day everyone, Rara here from Rara's Realm. Welcome to my second Flosstube of the year. Yes, I think that's right. Welcome to new subscribers and g'day to those returning. I hope you've all had good stitchy weeks or fortnights now. I have a few things to show you and yeah. I don't think I've got a lot else at the moment. I just suddenly thought I've got to get this video made because I've got to take my mother out at the time that I normally make my video. So I'm kind of suddenly jumping into gear without a lot of brain engagement. So we'll see how we go. My Stitchy Mojo seems to have returned from holiday. Although she has suffered from jet lag a little bit in the last couple of days. So I've done quite well compared to the previous instalment. I don't know my rotation in my head, and I don't actually, I can probably find to tell you what the next fortnight's going to be. I know today I get to start touching the autumn sky starts today. Hopefully I'll get to put a thread in it at some point this afternoon when I'm back from all my jobs with my mother. So but she's got 4 days now, so hopefully there'll be some good progress to show. Anyway, one of the projects I had to work on in the last fortnight was Joy Country Cottage Needleworks, and if you watched the first video 2 weeks ago, you'll know that I had done a pathetic amount, but I had got halfway. So I have now added along the bottom there, this is now the width of the piece. Those just now need their leaves, and I did start to go across, but then something got in the way. So I didn't give this the whole 4 days, but I at least did more than I have done in previous months. Then this was when the Stitching Mojo turned up. I had Bringing Home the Tree Pineberry Lane to work on, and when you saw this last, I've got the words and the white line, and I had about 3 trees. So I have now got more trees and a reindeer. So I'm now I've done officially halfway. I'm on the second page of 2. So next to the reindeer, I haven't actually got a heap, but it probably will be with all the counting. I'm hoping that the next 4 days it comes up, I will actually finish this. So I've got Santa in the sleigh with a tree and a few more trees, and that's it. There's not even a white border at the bottom. So fingers crossed the next time this turns up, and I'm not at the end of my rotation yet, so it's not going to be for a while, we can get this finished. So that's good. Then I think when I spoke to you 2 weeks ago, I said I had an order coming from 123 Stitch. It did arrive, I think, in New Zealand prior to that video, which I filmed on a Monday. I didn't get the parcel, I don't think, until the Friday. I don't know why it took almost a week to get on a 3-hour flight, and in fact it's a 2-hour flight from Auckland to Christchurch, is just over 2 hours, so I have no idea why it took a whole 5 days, but anyway, it arrived. So that meant I could start the stitch along my stitchy group is doing this year, which is the Modern Folk Embroidery 2020 stitch along. It's just stunning. And the progress of the girls who showed their pieces yesterday at Stitchy Group is amazing. So I started mine on the 31st of January, and it's my intention, okay, something I've remembered. It's my intention to do a length of thread on this every day, as well as the slots that it gets in the rotation. So this is where I'm at as of yesterday afternoon. So the end of part 1 is pretty much in here. So and this is 1 thread a day. I think I had one day where I knew I didn't have didn't have anything on, so I could afford to give it a couple of lengths of thread before I then got on with what was needed to be stitched each day. So this is a 36 count raw linen, and I'm using one thread of Presidential Blue. I now have a stockpile of 21 skeins of Presidential Blue. That's because I also have, I've piled stuff on top now. I also have another project I'm doing, which is the Marjorie Macy Quaker Street is also being done in Presidential Blue. Yes, so that is that. The thing I just remembered is I have made an executive decision on my rotation. It is I am rotating my rotation. I'm still sticking with the overall plan of 4 days per whip. And I think I worked out, I can get it here. I do have 15 whips. And what I have actually decided as I was moving projects around is that I'm not going to stitch my hade. I was into the idea, I really did like the idea. I've got the fabric and I've got the threads, but every time I look in that bag and I look at what pitiful amount I've done on page 1 and realise that's page 1 of 450 million, it just depresses me. So I've made the decision to not go forward with the hade. It's just not going to be stitched. I'll put the pattern away, and maybe sometime in a few years' time I might want to do a full coverage, but at the moment I just don't want to do it. So I have given that slot to my stitch along. So in each rotation it will get 2 lots of 4 days, plus it's going to get a thread every day. For the most part. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. But I think my plan is for this, and also for touching the autumn sky, which is all packed away in this bag. Oh, actually, I've got something to show you about that, so I will. I'm thinking I will also do a length of thread on touching the autumn sky, as well as it gets 4 slots in my rotation. So after every 5 projects there is a focus piece, which at the moment will be touching the autumn sky. When that's finished, it will be the closest to finish project. So there are sort of 3 gaps per 15, and then it gets its own slot. It makes sense on my piece of paper. If I show it enough, you can see the red gaps at the end of each 5 blocks. So I hope to get that done pretty quickly. I will show you in here, because I have got the fabric as well. So if you are not aware, it is Mirabilia Touching the Autumn Sky. It's out of print and it sells for stupid money, which no one really should be paying. But I understand why. I'm very kindly being lent this by a viewer of mine in Australia who has family in the same town I live in. And she went, oh, I watched you on Flosstube once in the high street. So she is lending it to me, and I am about to start it today. This is, now I don't know how this is going to show up. I have got, not too bad, a nice pale blue. It is Blue Ice Belfast. It's 32 count. It's not bad for a colour. It's very hard. The fabric on this was called Sky Blue, so I don't think I'm too far off, and it will just have to do, to be perfectly honest. I'm not mucking around. I need to get on and get it done. I've got almost all the threads. I've probably still got about a dozen threads left to go. You can see I've been crossing them off as I get them or find them. I shopped my hade bag, so all the ones in a plastic bag are from the hade. Pond Lily has some of the same colours, so I'm just going to take them out of that. So yes, the other thing that came in the order with 123 Stitch, other than the Presidential Blue threads, the linen for that sell, and the blue linen for that thing I've just shown you, Touching the Autumn Sky, was last year's ornament issue. which actually isn't too bad. I know people moan about this now, that it's not as good as it used to be. Admittedly, I've only flicked once, but on the cover, I don't know how I'm going to do this. The first one I want to stitch is this little one. It's a little robin. I love little robins. I lived in England for a long time. I always had a little robin in my allotment that I used to hire. But I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I thought there was more than 5. I actually like this. I'm not a religious person really, but I do like this. So that's just on the cover alone. I was quite happy. So they're not the big name brands anymore that they used to be, but it doesn't really matter. If you like a piece, you stitch the piece. So yeah. So I've now got, I've got all of these now because I've got the DVD. Okay, I think that is it. I did toy. I make you seasick. I'm very proud of a purchase that's not stitching related at all. I don't know whether to show you. I wonder what happens if I just feel I'm going to make you seasick. That's my concern. Last Thursday was our national birthday, if you like. Waitangi Day is the day that the British government signed a treaty with the Maoris of New Zealand, and New Zealand became New Zealand. So we're 180 years old now, and it turns out that a few streets away from us, someone was having a garage sale, and in that garage sale was a cupboard, and I was like, I really like that cupboard. They wanted $5. $5 is like about £2.50 for the English, and probably 8-ish US dollars, I think. Am I going the right way? Yeah, I think that's right. It's not quite double, but it's so silly money, and it's an old vintage 1930s or 40s, I reckon, old kitchen cupboard. So I said to my father, could we please go and see if between you and I we can lift this thing into the car and then out of the car at the other end. So he agreed, muttering. But we did. We got it. The guy at the garage sale said, here, I'll give you a hand. And I said, no, if we can't get it in on our own, we're not going to get it in at the other at the other end. So we huffed and puffed and we got it in. And I am so pleased. So I'm going to show you just because I want to show it. But I don't want to make you seasick, so I'm going to say to you to close your eyes now. Otherwise you're going to get a big finger. How do I turn this round? I can't turn it round. This is such an old iPhone. This is the problem. Okay, I'm going to have to somehow. Keep your eyes closed. Don't look unless you're prone to motion sickness. So keep your eyes closed, otherwise you're just looking at my mess. Keep your eyes closed. Okay, you can, where is it? It's there. Open your eyes a little bit. This is a really dodgy way of doing this, but it's the way my iPhone is. This is like the first one I ever had, so it's like a first generation iPhone, and it's got none of the bells and whistles. Anyway, this is my vintage cupboard. It's around 5 feet in old money. I'm a little bit taller than that, and I'm just over 5 feet. So if I pan down, you've got a glass door and a normal door. If I do look at having some paid refinishing done, I'd actually like to put a glass panel. I can't speak. A glass panel in that door. So this side is a longer cupboard. Ooh, where are we? There we go. I'm trying to see as well. There's a couple of drawers, and then this is a vintage set of shelves down here. Where are we? You can see the top of them. At the bottom, I'll try not to make you too seasick. I apologise greatly. Can I show this? Will it work? I can't even see what I'm looking at now. This is the cupboards, probably where they stored bulk in the old days, you know, potatoes, onions, flour, those sorts of things. So I apologise for my rubbish in the field filming. And I've just put, that's a little cake stand that I brought before Christmas, and then there's some vintage glass. The lock works, I'm amazed. There's some vintage glass in here. I don't think we're going to be able to see the pattern very well. So it does have, if anyone's into refinishing furniture, it has got some gunk on the shelf. I'm going to have to get probably some paint stripper or something and see if that will repair it. Anyway, close your eyes. I'm going to put you back. Keep your eyes closed for the moment. We're still filming. Keep your eyes closed, unless you're not prone to seasickness. Okay, you can open your eyes again. So I am very pleased with that purchase for $5. Unless the footage is absolutely dreadful and I cut it out, I apologise for how bad it is. When I touched my screen here, there was no facility to turn the camera around, to flip it. It's because of the camera I use. I can't use this phone for anything else because it's still locked to England, even though the stupid blimmin' phone company in England told me it wasn't locked. So it is what it is. But I'm very pleased with my little purchase for $5, and at some point I will refinish it and clean it and paint it again. I'd like to paint the inside of it white as well. It is beautiful old solid wood, and I do feel bad about the idea of painting it, but as it stands now, you can't see anything inside. If I want to use it for display, you're not going to see the things because it's so dark in the interior. So anyway, that is my little purchase for the last week. I shall leave you. I hope you have a good stitchy fortnight. And I will catch you again in 2 weeks. There was dissension at Stitchy Group yesterday. Someone said that they get to see me yesterday and they see me today, and then they've got to wait a fortnight. So depending on what goes on, I may one day change it, so there'll be a 3-week gap and then a fortnight after that. I don't know. We'll see. It works out quite well in my head. I know I've got Stitchy Group and I know I've got to make a Flosstube the next day. So anyway, the usual waffle. I shall leave you. Have a good stitchy week, and I will catch you in 2 weeks' time for hopefully a decent amount of Touching the Autumn Sky to show, and whatever else, what's coming up. I can tell you that. So we've just... okay, so we have got the Touching the Autumn Sky, Lucy Calcott, Quaker Street, and Santa's Village, and we may not touch on Santa's Village. Plus there'll be more added to the stitch along. So we'll see how we go. Right, this time I will go. I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye for now.